Regular meeting number 46 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilor Green, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's my honor to call up my brother, our pastor, Brian Winbush of Bethany Christian Church, to pray with us. Pastor, welcome to council.
Good evening and welcome. President Hardin, members of council, thank you for holding this space for prayer. As we prepare to pray tonight, I'd ask that you would do something. If you could just close your eyes and take a deep breath and let it out. One more and let it out. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and this opportunity of prayer. As we took those breaths tonight, it's a reminder that it is in you that we live, we move, and we have our being. You are God, our creator, and so we say thank you tonight for another day of life, health, strength, and another day to serve in your community. Thank you, God, for this space and time for prayer. We appreciate that we could call on you for your help, for your guidance, and your direction. I lift the leaders in this room tonight, every member of council, and I pray that they might be led and guided in all truth by your Spirit. I lift every leader in this community, whether they are a council member, whether they're an aide, an assistant, a custodian, police officer, teacher, we lift them all to you tonight. We pray your presence would be in this meeting, that you would bless this meeting. In the midst of moments in a season that seems like it's filled with angst, Lord, I pray for your peace among this city. I pray that you would bless this city of Columbus. I specifically call out youth and children, Lord, and I pray that you would bless them in this time. I pray for protection upon this city, over our schools, places of worship, where we work, where we live. Jesus called us to have a life that is full and full of abundance. And so I pray for a life and a city and a place that's full of prosperity, abundance, and health. We lift all this to you tonight, God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Beatty, Dayakauer, Dorrance, Green, Remy White, President Hardin. Any person who takes any action to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Beatty, Dayakauer, Dorrance, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communication received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now go around the dais for any updates or resolutions from my colleagues, starting with Councilmember Bankston.
Thank you, Council President. Just wanted to say to everyone, as we close out September, which is Sickle Cell Awareness Month, just want to say thank you to everyone that participated in our blood drives. You heard me say every September, you'll hear me say it about giving blood. It is the universal treatment for folks with sickle cell. So I just want to thank everyone, particularly our city employees and my city family who showed up to donate. We are still calculating and tabulating the final numbers. We had our last blood drive just last week. And so we'll make sure we give you that update. But again, just want to thank everyone for participating. But I'll say this, just because September is over, there's always a need for blood. We are the supply chain when it comes to our blood supply here in the city and across the country. So in that time when you're thinking, how can I give back to my community? It doesn't have to be something so grand as running for office or serving on an area commission or any of those things, which are all great. You can also simply just give blood. That saves lives. So I would just encourage folks again, even though September is over, again, thank you all who did donate, but continue to give blood. It definitely saves lives. And I want to thank everyone again who participated. And with that, Council President, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Beatty.
Yes, good evening, council and members of the public. At this time, I would like to call the members of the Columbus Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated to come to the podium. Please come up, gentlemen.
That's why I brought Wimbush, too. He's a
This organization, Kappa Alpha Psi, was founded in 1911 in Bloomington, Indiana, and has existed in the Columbus community for over 100 years. Kappa Alpha Psi is an important part of this community. Many meet leaders in our community that we know. Judge Robert Duncan, whom was a decided vote on desegregating the Columbus Public Schools. Former Councilman Ben Espy was a member of this organization. Former Council President and Mayor Michael Coleman, a member of this organization. Our own State Senator Herschel Craig. So I've been a part of this organization since the spring of 1992, as was my father, a member of this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our heroes. Just as Councilman Bankston was speaking, although we've had members that have been in public office, the true heroes of this organization, they spend time with the youth of our community. They spend time helping the elderly in our community. They spend time also monitoring the college chapter of this organization and guiding them in the right direction. So thank you for all that you do in this community. And if you'd like to say a couple words, I'll give you the mic.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Beatty, President Hardin, council members, the public. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here on this glorious day. And there's nothing else I need to add. Brother Otto Beatty III covered that information. So without further ado, we do have a couple of awards to present this evening. One to President Hardin first, although he's not a member of our fraternity, we do want to recognize him.
Yes, President Hardin, I know you look shocked. Yes, we talked about this several times, but now you're giving your flowers, as we have said before. It is my distinct honor, as on behalf of the Columbus Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, to present the Civic Excellence Award to Shannon G. Hardin. Council President Hardin's unwavering commitment to public service, visionary leadership, and dedication to uplifting our community have set a powerful example for all of us. His work continues to inspire positive change and reflects the very ideals of leadership and civic responsibility that every leader should possess. Please join me in congratulating Shannon G. Hardin for outstanding contributions to the city of Columbus.
Oh, man.
Thank you, President Harden. And I didn't introduce myself. So my name is Mark Irvin, where I get the distinct honor of being the pole mark for the Columbus,
Yes, sir.
Ohio alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And as you can see with me, I have these fine men that they do a lot of work tirelessly in the
Yeah.
community, behind the scenes, sometimes in front of things. So I certainly want everybody to recognize that. And with no other information, at this time, we want to honor our own brother, Otto Beatty III. And so his award reads, "With deepest respect, gratitude, we recognize your unwavering commitment to service, leadership, and betterment of our community." So again, thank you so much for what you do in the community, and thank you for all you pour into this fraternity as well. Thank you all again.
And Public, I would just like to say, to add to what Councilmember Beatty said, our fraternities and sororities were created for such a time as this. Many of our organizations, my organization was first, 1906, but we have to remember where we were as a country and why we were created. We were being excluded from community. We were being pushed out. Folks who were going for higher education were not supported. And we came together as a community to create a relationship and a brotherhood and a sisterhood that would uplift our community, that would provide service and advocacy. That work, I don't believe, has been any more important than over the next couple years. And so I'm just excited. And so we have a lot of fun going back and forth between different fraternities, but the Divine Nine is one entity of dedicated, connected folks who are looking out for our community. And our community needs us now more than ever. So thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your service to our community. But we have so much more to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Councilmember Dealcahar. Thank you. Press Pro Tem.
Thank you, Council President. I actually, strangely, have two resolutions tonight. Want to invite Darius Blackford, the race director for the Columbus Marathon, forward as I introduce Resolution 0205X-2025 to recognize the 45th Nationwide Children's Hospital Columbus Marathon for community exceptional fundraising and groundbreaking research. Every year at Council, I bring this resolution to recognize the important work of the Columbus Marathon and the strong partnership that exists between that race and Nationwide Children's Hospital here in Columbus. This race has raised over $14 million for that hospital's mission during that partnership, helping to ensure that every child in our community and many children across the state of Ohio and across the country have access to world-class medical research and care. This year, the old joke goes, I'm only half crazy, so I'm only doing a half marathon this year, so not the full like the last couple of years. But this is one of the most meaningful races, I think, in the country. When we talk about pairing such a great race, but for such a great cause. And for those of you who have participated in this race, seeing all the families and friends of those children at each mile marker, handing out water and hitting hands and just sort of enjoying the day and being kids that have received treatment from Nationwide Children's is such a great way to help to make that day so special for individuals that, whether they're running the half marathon or the full, it's truly a great event and certainly an institution in Columbus and something that I've been very, very excited and proud to be a part of for, I think, many, many years that I've called Columbus home. So with that, we'd love to turn the podium over to the race director to talk a little bit more about what's coming up for the race. Are there still opportunities for folks to sign up, or are you sold out?
I'll get into that.
All right, here you go. Floor is yours, Director.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Dorns, as well as Council President and all the members of Council. No, there's no spots left, except in the Jesse Owens jog. I want to bring up, when they're talking about fraternity, he was an alpha, but we're still going to talk well about him. Yeah, so we have an event called the Jesse Owens 5K and 1 mile, and that's on Saturday of race weekend. But we also, the Columbus Marathon and Half Marathon, I'm very proud. This is my 15th time before council. It was me last year, even if you remember I had the long white beard. That wasn't an imposter. But 15 years, 15,000 runners this year, $15 million we're going to be reaching in terms of donations and funds raised for Nationwide Children's Hospital. So I'm very proud of that legacy. I'm also proud, and I want council to know this, how much we support the departments of the city of Columbus. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on police and fire and trash and other services that are provided. We have choices in some respects to use outside vendors and things like that, but we choose to use the services of the city of Columbus because it means so much to us to be able to hold this event here and the openness and willingness of the city to allow us to do this event for 45 years, 19 years for the half marathon. I'm also very proud of our relationship with Columbus Recreation and Parks, not only because they are the ones who we have to go through the permitting process, but we also partner on the Kids Run, which is the best event of the weekend. If you want to do anything, you come see these little kids out there on the grass. None of them get skinned knees. It's great, but it's just a wonderful event, and I'm just thankful for the city's support each year. The good news is no street changes for the city. We've got everything worked out, and we're in good shape. But again, thank you for your support, and thank you for running the race. Anybody else walking or running this year? All right, there we go. Well, thank you so much for your continued support. It means the world.
Thank you, Director. And again, as you pointed out, thanks to all of our first responders and certainly city workers that, this race would not happen without, and certainly appreciate you all doing, your best to make sure that, the disruption on neighborhoods is limited, but also it's a great day for everyone involved. So unless my colleagues have any other comments, I move for adoption.
Second. Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
I have a second resolution tonight. I want to invite our guest for our next resolution. So we've got Resolution 0205X-2025 to recognize the 250th anniversary of the United States Post Office. 2025 marks the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Postal Service, which was created just 1 year before our founding fathers declared our independence from Great Britain. The Postal Service, as I think hopefully everyone knows, is a robust, reliable, and secure means of exchanging information no matter where you live across this country. Today, we have postal workers across the country serve 169 million addresses, and sometimes actually are delivering more than just your Monday through Friday. And certainly at a time in which so many federal workers have had very difficult times, we want to make sure that we acknowledge all of those postal workers across the country that are, literally helping to keep our country and communities running. I think folks saw that so poignantly during the pandemic, and just knowing that we have postal workers across our entire country that are literally helping keeping our community running. So with that, I would love to turn it over to Angela Leish from the American Postal Workers Union to accept this resolution and say a few words.
So I had to write it down so I don't forget the important stuff, so sorry. Again, my name is Angela Lish. I'm here to ask for the proposed resolution against the privatization of the Postal Service. This is the 250th year, and I actually just recently retired after 36 years. But I am still very active in my union, you said American Postal Workers Union. So I think I can speak on pretty much all the postal employees, the community, my fellow union members, that we would like to keep this the People's Post Office. When I hired in, our slogan was the post office does the last mile. That pretty much means that we are the only organization that will take a letter or anything to every single house. That's the only organization that I know of so far that can do that. So I was going to say, there are still many people who trust mailing their letters and bills rather than using the impersonal touch or risky use of the internet. We have grown as well with delivering packages to our community. A lot of our community relies on this, especially with medication, while still staying competitive with pricing. And so I think that's about it. Sorry. I'm just not used to saying it for everybody. But I do want to thank you guys for the invite and for considering this resolution.
Well, thank you so much. And I wanted to pause and acknowledge there are over 500,000 people that work for the Postal Service. And again, the only carrier in this country that delivers, no matter where you are, without a proper motivation to make sure that individuals, no matter whether you're in a big city or a small town or out in the middle of nowhere, that you've got access to information about the world and everything you need to get by. So unless there's any other questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for adoption.
Okay. Beatty, Dayakauer, Dorns, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you.
I said that wrong. Can I repeat that? Because I called the roll wrong. Yes. Yes. Let me call that again. Bankston. Yes. Dayakauer, Dorns, Green, Remy White, President Harden. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Councilmember Green. Another, Councilmember Remy. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you, Council President. One quick announcement and then a resolution. First, I want to encourage everyone to mark your calendars for October 21st at 3:30 for the next Public Utilities and Sustainability hearing. This hearing will be held at Rumpke's new recycling facility and will cover utility reselling and recycling expansion. So I encourage everyone to come on out and join us. Obviously, we want your feedback on the legislation that will be before us. Next, I'd like to introduce Resolution 207X-2025 to recognize September as Hunger Action Month. As I read this resolution, I would like to invite Tim White, the Director of Government Relations and Advocacy at the Mid-Ohio Food Collective, to the podium. The Mid-Ohio Food Collective is the largest food bank in the state of Ohio, serving 20 counties throughout the Central Ohio region through a network of over 600 local partners. Through their extensive network, they distributed over 51 million pounds of food in Franklin County in 2024. Of those 51 million pounds, 45% came from government sources. During this Hunger Action Month, it feels deeply important to recognize the shifting landscape at the federal level and how it impacts our local food systems. The cumulative impacts of rising costs, losses in available funding for nonprofits, and additional cuts to food subsidy programs like SNAP result in an increased demand on our local partners with less resources to work with. So it's important to also recognize the food instability in the city of Columbus and highlight the work of our community partners leading the way to meet the needs of our residents in spite of the challenges that exist. So I want to thank you on behalf of my colleagues for all the work that Mid-Ohio Food Collective is doing to support our residents. And I want to welcome you to just share some brief remarks before moving this resolution forward.
Certainly. And thank you, Councilmember Weiss, President Harden, members of council. I think you covered it for me there. You just made my job easy. But we do appreciate the opportunity to highlight Hunger Action Month, and with that, the need to get involved in the fight against hunger and poverty. We all need to work together on that. And to illustrate where we are these days in combating hunger, last year over 1.8 million visits across our 20-county service area, 58% increase over the peak of COVID. When we thought we had seen it all, we realized we had seen nothing. It's continuing to go. And currently, as mentioned, with the resources dwindling, federal state cuts, we appreciate the city of Columbus, our public sector partners like city council, the administration, and others working together. I will also note, when you had the fraternity up here, you also had some of our agency partners, folks who are on the front line. If you want to hear what it's like, ask them about it, because they see it every day. So, in particular, the ongoing support of the renovation for the Eastland Prosperity Center from the city has been everything. We can't wait to get y'all out there to see what we're doing on that one. It's going to be unique. It's going to be a national model. So we look forward to that day. As we continue with endeavors like Hunger Action Month, We will continue to highlight the need that is in our community. We will continue to work with you, and we appreciate the ongoing support, work that we get from you. So thank you for everything you do as well.
Tim, thank you for being here. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Councilmember Banks.
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you're doing. When we talk about public service, we also talk about government a lot of times, but you all are serving the public in a very unique and mighty way. I used to be the president and CEO of Gladden Community House.
Yes.
And so I saw firsthand what that looks like on the front lines, particularly coming right out of the pandemic. Folks who have never accessed pantries or emergency food service. But you all's, I think, unique approach that food should not go wasted. And this is an issue that quite honestly transcends what folks think of folks that are in hunger. These are people that had paychecks, people who had mortgages in many cases. It was their first time they found themselves in that position. And so I just want to say thank you for always being there on the front line. It is, when we talk about that hierarchy of needs, food is one of the top ones that we know of. And so I just want to thank you all for standing in the gap, particularly in this difficult time that we're in. And also thank you all for your innovation. We partner together on the Hilltop, and we're talking about growing food and what you all are doing there. And so our friends at Mid-Ohio aren't just simply about providing food to folks. You also serve as a catalyst for development in our communities and our neighborhoods. So just wanted to say thank you. And thank you again, Councilmember, for all the work that you do in this food rescue and so many other things that have gotten us to this point. And just, again, grateful for the work and having a partner like you all here in our city.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Councilmember Green.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Tim, and thank you for the work that you do. And I know that this is an incredibly challenging time, and it's really easy to, point the finger across the street at the street at the State House, or up at Capitol Hill. But the reality is the budget is what the budget is for the next 2 years, as just recently passed by the state. And we are dealing with the administration that we're dealing with up on Capitol Hill for at least the next 3 years. And so thinking about that, I just want to put out a call to our community and to all of my colleagues that are sitting on this stage. We have people that are hungry in our community today. 1 in 7 people in our state goes to bed hungry every night. 1 in 5 children in our county goes to bed hungry every night. 1 in 4 kids in my neighborhood. And so thinking about that, thinking about how can we stack hands together with organizations like yours to really uncover what are the needs, what are the gaps that are going to exist, and we got to figure out how to bridge them. And so thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to continuing to partner with you for that work.
Thank you. And we do look forward to working with all of you, each of you. We're in it together. We're going to keep the fight going. So thank you for helping us with them.
If I could offer. For 6.5 years, I ran the produce distribution over in Prairie Township. A lot of people assume that there's no food insecurity in the more suburban areas of Franklin County, and that's not true. It was a great labor of love with just a handful of volunteers that we were able to do that because of the food that you all provided. And I was so excited to be put out of business when you opened up the fresh market just up the street on Norton Road so that people could go 6 days a week to get food instead of just on the day when I had my distribution. So thank you so much for what you did. It made a huge impact in that community, particularly for our older adults.
Thank you, and thank you for highlighting something very important, that is urban, rural, suburban. Hunger is there. I can tell you our neighbors to the north, Delaware, the most economically prosperous, I forget what the term is, the largest agency, food pantry, 24% increase last year in an area that's booming. So that tells you everything right there when you have 24% increase in a large pantry in Delaware. So important point. Thank you.
Well, Tim, thank you again for being here and for your work. Seeing no other questions or comments, I move for adoption.
Yep. Thank you.
Bankston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted.
Tim, come back, please.
Thank you, Councilmember. For the record, I want to just clarify that Pres Pro Tem called the roll on 208X-2025. And then finally, I want to just invite folks out to a housing, homelessness, and building committee hearing on Yes in God's Backyard proposed policy this Thursday, October 2nd at 2 p.m. at Corbin Commons at 3426 Corbin Commons Drive. We'll be discussing faith-based housing development and models of policy around the country called Yes in God's Backyard. We'll be hearing from some folks in our community about ways to assist with faith-based housing and challenges they are facing with potential policy ideas. This is my initiative in Council's package for Columbus Forward and innovative ways to support Columbus residents while we experience the effects of growth. Anyone who is wishing to speak or to provide written testimony can email jnklinger with a C, Lingur @gmail.com by 5 p.m. this Wednesday, October 1st. Are there any other questions or comments from our elected officials, City Attorney's Office, Auditor, Treasurer's Office? Seeing none. Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance on consent portion of the agenda? Hearing none, may we now have a motion to waive the readings of titles of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
In Finance and Governance Committee, we have ordinance 2397-2025. In Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, we have ordinance 2461-2025. In Public Service and Transportation Committee, we have ordinances 2215 and 2228-2025. We have ordinance 2438-2025, 2467-2025, 2470-2025, 2478-2025, and 2480-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, we have ordinance 2309-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 2359, 2361, 2365, 2368, 2369, 2406, 2491, 2529, 2530, 2534, and 2551-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 2502, 2519, and 2520-2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do have one speaker on the first reading portion of the agenda. That is Mr. Nathaniel Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome to council.
(1612) Arlington Avenue, Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins, I'm a Northland resident for the last 15 years. I'm going to speak for this piece of property located at 922 Ann Street. I would like to know how long that this property been holding the land bank. Also, we talked about there's not enough housing. What I come to find out here, this property was built in 1905. It has a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. What I'm about ready to say here is, you know, we do all this big talk and there's not enough housing. I don't understand why this property cannot be fixed with job opportunities. And here we are still struggling with affordable housing, a lack of housing. What I come to find out, this can be a job opportunity for any and anybody. I lived in my community since 2007. And what I don't understand, we're moving on these properties as blighted, as vacant, and abandonment. I chose my neighborhood of this home here, of 1639 Arlington Avenue. At the time, the property was demolition. This was a unique property at the time. Glass doorknobs, stainless steel glass in front of the door. Unfortunately, the city took it over and demoed this property. A few age-old properties was demoed around my property, Arlington, Myrtle, and Genesee Avenue area. I went and looked at this property through the county land bank. A 100-year-old home was demolished. 1617 Genesee Avenue has been refurbished. Let me say that again. Has been refurbished because it was torched a couple years ago. I walk past this house every day. Today it has new siding. And let me tell you something here. Somebody came and bought that house, and I told myself, I'm going to take a tour of that house one day to show you what this city can do and what God can do. You know, I don't understand why we can't take a different approach to vacant abandonment houses. In a few weeks, I called the state senator at the State House to talk about a bill of $55,000. Today, as I walk past this home of 1607 Genesee Avenue, may I finish? Somebody had purchased that property and somebody live in it today. So again, I just want clarification in documents of 922 Ann Street. How long is it in the land bank? Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I think that my team is reaching out to development just to get that information to you, and we'll get it to you. Seeing there's only that one speaker on first reading. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolution of Expression 206X-2025. Finance and Governance Committee, we have ordinance 2304, 2340, 2360, 2432, 2468, 2469, 2487, 2549, and 2632-2025. Economic Development and Smaller Minority Business, we have ordinances 2353, 2454, 2455, and 2565-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, we have ordinances 2262, 2341, 2344, 2396, 2446, 2472, 2473, and 2507-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee, ordinances 2317, 2384, 2385, 2386, 2390, 2393, 2413, 2415, 2595, and 2605-2025. Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee, ordinances 2222, 2326, and 2599-2025. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, ordinances 2367, 2379, and 2381-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinances 2466 and 2484-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinance 688, 2280, 2281, 2285, 2345, 2405, and 2493-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 2322, 2404, 2462, 2471, 2475, and 2604-2025. Rules and Policy Committee, we have appointments from the mayor, A134 and A136-2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval? Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Bankston,
Yes, with the exception of appointment 10136-2025, from which I'm abstaining.
Beatty,
Yes.
Dayakauer,
Yes.
Dorans, Green, Remy, White, President Harden.
Yes, the ordinance is passed. We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Finance and Governance Committee, chaired by Councilmember Bankston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First up in the Finance and Governance Committee, we have ordinance 2283-2025 to authorize and direct the city auditor to provide for the transfer of $7,649,611 in appropriation within the general fund to transfer and increase appropriation in the amount of $1,118,290 in certain non-general fund departments and divisions to transfer cash and appropriation in the amount of $1,087,587 in the Recreation and Parks Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes additional appropriations in order to meet projected expenditures related to employee benefits. The city's insurance-related costs have increased due to increased utilization and costs. The legislation is needed in order to properly align appropriations with projected expenditures. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2532-2025 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to, on behalf of the Facilities and Management Division, to enter in a contract with Key Cleaning Connection LLC for custodial services at the Columbus Police Academy, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $27,023.11 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes a custodial services contract extension with Key Cleaning Connection for services at the Columbus Police Academy. Finance Department recently completed a procurement process for a new custodial service agreement, and this agreement is currently in the process of contract negotiations. In order to provide for some additional time to complete these negotiations, a one-month contract extension is being requested. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you, Council President. May I move to the Economic Development and Small Business Committee?
Please.
Thank you. Tonight in the Economic Development and Small Business Committee, we have ordinance 2400-2025 to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into the Northwest Metro Park Development Agreement with the Columbus and Franklin Co-Metropolitan Park District Metro Parks for the purpose of funding land acquisition for the development of a metro park, whether new or existing, within the northwest quadrant of Franklin County and adjacent areas thereto in the vicinity of the Heritage Trail, to authorize the transfer, appropriation, and expenditure of the funds deposited within the Hayden Run North TIF Fund, and to declare an emergency. Negotiations related to this project are still ongoing, and all parties are working to finalize a contract. That said, I will motion to refer this ordinance back to committee so that the legislation can be brought back once the agreement is complete. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I now move to refer this ordinance back to committee.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Refer back to committee.
Thank you, Council President. I am excited about the eager second, and also that is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. That committee will be read by co-chair Councilmember Day Akauer. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. In Public Service and Transportation this evening, we first have 2407-2025 to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with 2K General Company for the Facilities Traffic Maintenance Facility Phase 3 project, to authorize expenditure of up to $1,950,000 from the Street Construction Maintenance and Repair Fund and the Municipal Motor Vehicle Tax Fund for the project, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes a contract with 2K General Company for work associated with the city's traffic maintenance facility. This contract includes renovation of the sign shop, fabrication and storage spaces. Work includes walls to be removed, added, and adjusted as designed to repurpose certain areas. New furniture and storage shelving will be provided. Additionally, removal of the existing HVAC unit that is currently mounted on the roof, as well as removal and/or modification of HVAC ductwork and controls. Minor electrical work will be necessary to support renovations of the HVAC work. 4 bids were received, and the cost is $1.95 million. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have 2494-2025 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into contract with A&H Equipment Company to purchase equipment to clear and maintain city streets, to authorize the waiver of the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code, to authorize expenditure of up to $618,202.40 from the Municipal Motor Vehicle Tax Fund, and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the purchase of 2 three-wheeled Pelican street sweepers at a cost of $618,202.40. The previous vendor for this equipment that was on file with the city's universal term contract no longer has a relationship with the manufacturer of the equipment. The universal term contract was to be in effect until December 31st of 2025. This unexpected loss of the vendor has necessitated ordering from A&H Equipment Company to procure the equipment specified in the original contract. Pricing from A&H Equipment Company is lower than 2024 pricing of the previous vendor, no longer able to provide equipment. So while a waiver of competitive bidding was required, the department will get the needed equipment for a better price. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you, Council President. That's all from Public Service this evening. With your permission, I'd like to move on to Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks.
Please.
Our first ordinance for second reading in this committee this evening is 1939-2025 to authorize and direct the city auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $2,162,500 for the purchase of equipment for the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize and direct the Director of Finance and Management to enter into various contracts for the purchase of equipment on behalf of the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize a transfer of $1,506,000 between the General Fund Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and the Recreation Parks Bond Fund, to authorize the appropriation of $1,770,000 in the Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund, Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund, and Recreation Parks Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize a transfer of $656,500 within the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund and Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize the amendment of the 2025 capital improvements budget, to authorize the expenditure of $2,162,500 from the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund and Permanent Improvement Fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the yearly purchase of various maintenance equipment utilized by the department. Equipment like bucket lifts, stump grinders, mowers, and tractors will replace aging equipment used by the building maintenance, forestry, grove parks, and sports sections of the department. Emergency action is requested in order to have as much of this equipment as possible available for the remainder of the season. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have 2387-2025 to authorize the Director of the Recreation and Parks Department to enter into contract with Claire Weiss Architects Limited Liability Partnership, DBA, WXY Architecture and Urban Design for the Linden Green Line project, to authorize a transfer of $508,000 between the General Fund Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and the Recreation and Parks Bond Fund, to authorize the appropriation of $508,000 in the Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $900,000 from the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund and Voted Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. This is an exciting next step toward a tremendously impactful project coming to our community, the Linden Green Line. For those unaware, this project is an effort to transform an abandoned rail corridor into a 7-mile, 48-acre linear park stretching from Douglas Community Center all the way to State Route 161 in Cooper Park. As you can see on the screens in Chambers now, Linden and surrounding neighborhoods all the way up to Northland have long been affected by redlining, restrictive covenants. This project is a deliberate investment in equity and access. Many streets in the area lack protected pedestrian and bicycle facilities. The Green Line will bring safe, dedicated, and active transport routes. This project builds on momentum already in place in the Linden community, supporting existing revitalization efforts. This historic project will connect 131,000 residents, many of whom live in communities historically cut off from resources, to amenities such as parks, schools, and local businesses without needing a car. 3,000 businesses, 19 schools, and 4 community centers, 10 parks, and 2 major arteries currently exist along the proposed route. Along the greenway, amenities will be added. Specifics will be determined during the design phase, but such additions could include playgrounds, small sports amenities, and areas for social gatherings. Since the land has been acquired for $5 million in 23 and 2024, the department solicited bid for a design firm to conduct the preliminary design and engineering. This preliminary engineering phase will establish the vision and framework for the park. It will include design concepts. It will also include access and connectivity strategies. And it also included will be ecological restoration plans, preliminary plans, cost estimate, and permitting strategies. A central component of this phase is a robust community engagement plan for the Linden and Northland communities. Activities will include public workshops, interviews, tabling at community hubs, and guided corridor walks. Additional physical and digital outreach will also be included to ensure broad, diverse participation. Input gathered through these efforts will inform design priorities, preferred amenities, and overall park planning. This legislation before us tonight awards this contract to WXY Architecture and Urban Design, a firm based out of New York City, for $900,000. Funding for construction is already well underway. Earlier this year, the department received a $12 million federal RAISE grant, and they also have $15 million in LINCUS funding, bringing the total construction cost to $27 million. At this time, I would like to invite Brad Westall from the department up to the podium.
Thank you, Councilmember Daycower. Good evening, Council. Thank you for putting so succinctly and in detail what the Linden Green Line will mean to this community and to the city as a whole. This is a unique project. It deserved a unique firm. We got many proposals from this. And I want to point out a couple of things here as Rec and Parks selected this team. Number one, 60%, a little over 60% of the work will be done by local firms. That's important because we value that connection to our local teams here. As this project ages on and we develop more and drill down on specifics, that 60% increases because the engineering becomes harder and more localized to the project. Reason number two, the Linden Green Line is unique. It has not been done in Columbus. And we reached out nationally. We had 4 to 5 national firms propose to be involved with this project, and they should be. And what WXY presents to this is experience. They've worked in very difficult inner city situations in Brooklyn, Queens, Toledo, and Harlem, and have had innovative, national award-winning success in difficult areas to gauge public involvement, and that sold us on that. We didn't act alone in this. We had a large selection team, and our colleagues at Public Service, our colleagues at Department of Neighborhoods, and our colleagues at Department of Development were a part of that decision-making. It was a unanimous decision. I would close with this. Their track record brings them here to the city, and we feel lucky to be able to be working with them. I'll close with Director Reese' statement here. As a nationally recognized firm celebrated for innovative, impactful work, WXY Studio is the best choice for Linden and Northland communities. These communities deserve nothing less than the best. Thank you for letting us have a moment of your time here. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any of my colleagues have any questions, comments? Yes,
Thank
Mike?
you, Council Member. I just want to commend Recreation and Parks for sticking with this. I remember when I was a young staffer in Department of Neighborhoods, we were doing something called the One Linden Plan. One of those 10 big ideas is connect the community. It's a critical one because when you look at Linden and its geography, it's cut off. It's isolated from many other parts of our city. So this was a critical piece of that. And Brad, as you know, this property was very complicated to come by. And so I just want to commend you all for sticking with it. Really excited about it. And what I will say is, you're absolutely right. The residents of Linden and residents of Columbus deserve the best engineers, the best people on this. But what I will say, and I know that this is forefront of mind for you as well as our Department of Neighborhoods, this has to benefit the people of Linden. And so although this will be a connection point, I think, for the greater community, and if you see the handout that we have here, it's not just simply the Green Line, but it's all the other multi-use paths. I think some of the work that we've done, even on Hudson, all of it is about connecting the city. But in this particular case, it's special because it's about the residents of Linden. And so I think as long as we keep that center and make sure that it benefits those folks the most, then I think that we will accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. So I just wanted to say I'm excited because, again, this is just another direction as us as a city, keeping our commitments to the residents of Linden and that One Linden community plan. Not a book of promises, but a path forward for all of us to make a better community there. So thank you again for your leadership, as well as Bernita, Director Reese, and the entire folks at Recreation and Parks for all that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Bankston. If there are no other questions, then I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have 2392-2025 to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish an auditor's certificate in the amount of $1,200,000 for the reimbursement of staff time related to Recreation Parks capital improvement projects, to authorize a transfer of $1,200,000 between the general fund income tax set-aside subfund and the Recreation Parks bond fund, to authorize the appropriation of $1,200,000 in the income tax set-aside subfund and Recreation Parks voted bond fund, to authorize expenditure of $1,200,000 from the Recreation Parks voted bond fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance is an important accounting action related to a capital improvement projects. Recreation Parks, as we all know, is engaged in a large variety of capital projects. The cost of these capital projects includes all charges necessary to complete them, which includes labor. Thus, direct labor costs for employees who are working in the capacity of project manager or construction are eligible to be capitalized to an identified capital project. This comes in the form of a general fund reimbursement as seen in this ordinance. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have 2395-2025 to authorize and direct the Director of Recreation Parks to enter into contract with Columbus Museum of Art for the administration and implementation of the roof replacement project in the amount of $1 million, to authorize a transfer of $1 million between the General Fund Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and the Recreation Parks Bond Fund, to authorize the appropriation of $1 million in the Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $1 million from the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. Last year, the Columbus Museum of Art requested capital support from the city to help fund the replacement of their roof. In addition to the financing requested from the city, they also requested support from the state and county and plan on seeking private donations for any remaining costs. The roof over the Columbus Museum of Art's primary structure, which houses their art galleries, is past its useful life. Installed over 30 years ago, the roof has allowed water to seep into the Elizabeth M. and Richard M. Ross building and has resulted in water damage to the internal decorative plaster, ceiling, lighting, and floors. Further water damage may potentially impact the works of art themselves. Replacing the existing roof with a new modern roof will cost approximately $4.5 million. The construction project will include removing the current aluminum roofing structure and replacing it with a combination flat rubber and copper standing seam roof. A copper standing seam roof was selected since the metal was the original material installed on the building in 1931. The city, recognizing the importance of maintaining this valuable community asset, is awarding the museum $1 million towards this project per a line item included in the 2025 capital budget. Emergency action is requested to allow the Columbus Museum of Art to keep construction on schedule, keeping the impact to the facility operations to a minimum, and allowing the improvements to be utilized by the community as soon as possible. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is finally all from my committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee coming for council is the Health and Human Service and Equity Committee, chaired by Councilmember Green. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Council President. Tonight in our Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, we have one ordinance on second reading. Before I read that, though, I did have one announcement that I just really wanted to make that I forgot to make earlier, and that is that this weekend is the Franklinton vs. Hilltop charity softball game that is being held at the Gladden Sports Complex at 1481 West Town Street. So please come out and enjoy some good stuff. We're going to be raising some funds for charities and organizations that do health, human services work and provide lots of resources to our community. So, what? Yeah, no, the trophy is definitely coming back home to the Hilltop. We have a grudge to settle. But Gladden Community House is the selected Franklinton organization, and the Hilltop YMCA is the Hilltop organization. So as we do every year, 100% of all the funds that are raised goes to support the selected community charities, with the winning team's charity getting 75% of the proceeds and the less winning team's charity getting 25% of those proceeds. So. And so with that, on to our regularly scheduled business. We have in our Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee one ordinance on second reading, and that is Ordinance 2316-2025 to authorize the Board of Health to enter into a contract with Health Access LLC for ending the HIV epidemic, EHE grant program for the provision of services allowable under the grant for persons with HIV or AIDS in Central Ohio, to authorize the expenditure from the Health Department Grants Fund to pay the cost thereof, to request a bid waiver according to City Code 329, and to declare an emergency. Health Access LLC provides administrative support to the Ryan White and Ending the HIV Epidemic program. Specifically, they have developed a monitoring platform which is used to assure compliance of subrecipients with relevant federal and city policies and procedures. This assures greater efficiency in the evaluation process. Clients are served indirectly as the monitoring tool assures adherence to federal and local policies. The ordinance tonight is being submitted as an emergency in order to ensure that quality medical care continues to be available to eligible persons living with HIV and AIDS, and to ensure timely payment to providers. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you so much, Council President. That is all for me tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. Tonight we have 209X 2025 to withdraw the objection to the renewal of liquor permit number 8160950 held by Samar Ohio LLC, doing business as Mart, aka Mobile Mart, located at 2727 Cleveland Avenue, Columbus, Ohio 43224, and to declare an emergency. The city has engaged in discussions with the business owner, including input from the Columbus Division of Police on security improvements. These discussions resulted in a nuisance abatement agreement that requires the business to implement security upgrades, cameras, lighting, adjusted hours of operation, provide employee training, and abide by specific prohibitions on certain activity at the establishment. The agreement was reached in lieu of pursuing the objection, but the city retains the right to object to the liquor license in the future or to take the matter to environmental court if the business fails to comply. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Next is 2298, 2025, to authorize the Public Safety Director to enter into a contract with Target Solutions Learning, LLC, for computer-based distance learning services for the Division of Fire, to authorize the expenditure of $234,462.54 from the general fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, and to declare an emergency. Since 2008, the division has relied on a computer-based training content provider to deliver remote training across all fire stations. This platform manages scheduling, logging of employee training history, and provides software updates and technical support. This contract ensures continuity of training for firefighters across the city with an initial 1-year term and 4 annual renewal options, subject to council approval and appropriation. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Next is 2308, 2025, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a contract with Magnet Forensics LLC to renew digital licenses and procure additional software licenses, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $201,770.64 from the Law Enforcement Contraband Seizure Fund, and to declare an emergency. The contract covers critical forensic software, Magnet Verify, Review, Witness, and Gray Key, that the division relies on for day-to-day digital evidence analysis. These tools support efficiency, accuracy, and security in managing sensitive case data. Without this renewal, the division would face disruptions in its ability to process evidence, collaborate on cases, and safeguard digital materials. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Howard, Dorrance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Next is 2382, 2025, to authorize the Director of Public Safety to enter into contract with Morpho USA, doing business as Endemia Identity and Security USA LLC, to continue payments for the upgraded automated fingerprint identification system for the Division of Police in accordance with the sole source provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of $512,270 within the income tax set-aside fund, and to authorize an expenditure of $512,270 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. The city originally entered into this agreement in 2015 to upgrade a 15-year-old AFIS system, which was nearing capacity. This upgraded system, completed in 2016, has enhanced the division's ability to identify suspects quickly and accurately, and to run queries across multiple agencies and databases. This legislation provides for ongoing payments and technical support to keep AFIS functioning at the highest level of reliability and effectiveness. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Howard, Dorrance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Next is 2464, 2025, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a contract with the Research Foundation of City University of New York on behalf of the National Network for Safe Communities at John Jay College to assist the City of Columbus in its efforts to advance the group violence intervention implementation, strengthen police legitimacy, and decrease incidences of group violence, to authorize the expenditure of $105,000 from the general fund, to waive competitive bidding, and to declare an emergency. This will provide strategic advising to Columbus Public Safety and community partners, conduct a site visit to refresh group audits, and support efforts to increase the number of custom notifications delivered to at-risk individuals. The partnership strengthens police legitimacy, enhances collaboration with community leaders and service providers, and ensures that prevention and accountability measures are implemented effectively. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Howard, Dorrance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
And finally, we have 2403, 2025, to authorize and direct the city attorney to settle the lawsuit known as Treadway versus City of Columbus et al., pending in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Ohio, case number 222-CV2287, to authorize the expenditure of the sum of $125,000.00 in settlement of the lawsuit, to authorize the transfer of $125,000 within a general fund, and to declare an emergency. I'm going to kick this over to the City Attorney's Office, to City Attorney Brian Shen for further explanation.
Thank you, Chair Remy, President Harden, members of council. This incident occurred on May 30th, 2020, during the George Floyd protests. The plaintiff, Mr. Treadway, is alleged, I should say, excessive use of force by the police department and violations of his First Amendment rights. During the protest, a CPD officer removed his gas mask, and then an altercation occurred, leading to Mr. Treadway's arrest. Mr. Treadway brought a lawsuit in the federal district court, raising several federal and state law claims, including a violation of his civil rights. The court later dismissed all claims except the First Amendment and excessive force claims against the police officer. After discovery, the city attorney's office determined that there was a risk of a finding of liability against the city and a significant award of attorney's fees, because with a violation of civil rights, the plaintiff is entitled to attorney's fees on winning claims. Therefore, because of the risk of potential liability and attorney's fees only increasing if the matter goes to trial, the city attorney's office recommends that it's in the best interest of the city to settle this case. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And this is the final settlement related to the protests in 2020?
Yes, correct.
Deputy Director Wenzel, can you talk a little bit, well, first of all, is the officer still employed with the division? And second of all, could you talk a little bit about policy changes that have been made to ensure that things like this don't happen again?
Yes, President Harden, Councilmember Ramey, members of council, this officer is no longer employed with the City of Columbus Division of Police. He retired in July 2023. This lawsuit, as mentioned, comes out of the George Floyd protests in 2020. The city attorney's office has described why it's in the best interest of the city to settle this case, but I would like to take this opportunity to underscore the dramatic changes that have occurred in the Division of Police since that time. Specifically, the significant policy changes and international best practice training now in place. With respect to policy, I thank City Council for working with Mayor Ginther to enact very significant reforms, including, but not limited to, establishing the Department of the Inspector General and Civilian Police Review Board, supporting the creation of the dialogue team, adding to and expanding our alternative crisis response units, and restricting tear gas and pepper spray from use in nonviolent protests. I would like to acknowledge the vision of Chief Bryant, the first ever chief of police from outside the division, and the exceptional leadership team she has put in place. With respect to training, Mayor Ginther directed the Division of Police to find a new, better way to handle civil unrest. Police leadership engaged the world's foremost expert on crowd behavior, Professor Clifford Stott. We brought him from England to Columbus to train our officers on protest response and protecting First Amendment activity. That led to the creation of our police dialogue unit, which has positioned Columbus as a national model in protest response. Police agencies from across the country have come to Columbus to learn from our evidence-based approach. In summary, we are very proud of how the Division of Police has progressed, evolved, and become a national model in evidence-based crowd behavior policing since the 2020 protests. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you very much, Council President. That is all I have in the committee tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee coming before council is the Public Utilities Sustainability Committee, chaired by Councilmember Weiss. Councilmember Flores-Shores.
Thank you, Council President. First, in Public Utilities and Sustainability, I have 2030-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a professional engineering services contract with Jacobs Engineering Group Incorporated for the Southerly Water Reclamation Plant Switching Station Replacement Project, to authorize the appropriation of funds within the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to make this ordinance contingent upon the Ohio Water Development Authority approving a loan for this project, and to authorize the expenditure of $4,622,182 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund for the contract. This contract is for design development services for the design and installation of multiple new switching stations. The project will prepare for anticipated future power distribution needs to accommodate growth, increase reuse capacity, and allow the new cogeneration facility to operate effectively, and relocate the Division of Power substation inside the 100-year floodway. Let me pause there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 2093-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with Kenmore Construction Company Incorporated for the Barnett Road Storm Sewer Improvements and the Barnett Road Water Main Improvements Project, to authorize an amendment to the 2025 capital improvement budget to appropriate funds within the OWDA Storm Sewers Fund and the Water Fresh Market Rate Fund, to transfer cash and appropriation within the Storm Bond Fund to to make this ordinance contingent upon the Ohio Water Development Authority approving both loans for this project and to authorize the expenditure of $4,952,844.68 from the OWDA Storm Sewers Fund, the Water Fresh Market Rate Fund, and the Storm Bond Fund to pay for the project. This project will install a new storm sewer and replace degraded parts of the water main. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have 2232-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to modify and increase the contract with GPD Group for the 69-2 Circuit Improvements Project, to authorize an amendment to the 2025 capital improvement budget, to authorize the transfer of cash and appropriation within the Electricity Bond Fund, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $1,153,133.82 within the Electricity Bond Fund to pay for the contract modification. This project will upgrade the remaining outdated 8.3 miles of the 50-year-old transmission circuit that stretches from the Southerly substation to the Jackson Pike substation. The improvement to this circuit will extend the useful life of the circuit, resulting in fewer power interruptions to the customers and provide additional capacity for increased current from a planned solar field. Let me pause there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 2499-2025 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and extend an existing contract with Oracle American Incorporated for licensing and cloud service fees for the department's customer information systems and integrated systems replacement project by adding additional funding and extend the contract term to waive the competitive bidding provisions of City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $461,612.27 split among the public utilities operating funds, and to declare an emergency. Columbus Water and Power is in the process of replacing its current customer information systems platform, the Columbus Utility Billing System. Since the department is already using Oracle CCS for meter data management and Oracle Field Services for utilities, it is in the best interest of the city to modify the existing contract with Oracle America Incorporated for the customer platform license. Let me stop there and see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in public utilities and sustainability. However, I do have a code change in rules and policy. May I continue?
Please.
All right. Finally, I have 2320-2025 to amend various sections of Chapter 1145 of Columbus City Codes to update the Industrial Pretreatment Program Enforcement Response Plan and to make clerical revisions throughout the chapter. There are two changes being made to the Enforcement Response Plan within the ordinance. The name of the Industrial Pretreatment section is changing to the Industrial Pretreatment Program, and the maximum administrative fine amount for a violation is increasing from $5,000 to $10,000. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing no further business to come for council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We'll go into
Regular meeting number 47 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer. Why is it not reading? Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Dorns, Green, Remy, Weiss. I'm sorry, let me go back and do that again. Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, no additions or corrections, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. I chair that committee. All members serve on it. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, first a little bit of housekeeping. Will the clerk please read the numbers of legislation in this committee that require waiver of second reading?
Ordinance 2288, 2516, 2289, 2488, 2489, 2490, 2503, 2517, and 2535-2025.
Thank you, clerk. I now move to waive second reading on those items read aloud. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Thank you, clerk. As always, I'll briefly explain our rules pertaining to speaking for council and rezonings and variances. We'll hear a staff presentation for ordinance that have a disapproval from recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents, 3 opponents. We ask that those speakers limit their remarks to 3 minutes per the standard rules of City Council. All speakers of the council variance, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of the area commission are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker's slip. We do ask that you alert city staff at your intention to speak at this committee hearing. This evening, we do not have any public speaker slips filled out. On the Vice City Attorney's Office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, that you shall answer in pains or penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Brandon Carpenter from the Department of Building and Zoning Services has been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 1979-2025 to rezone 4970 Lindora Drive, being 0.92 plus acres located in the southeast corner of Lindora Drive and Carbondale Drive from C4 Commercial District to LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. This ordinance was postponed at our last council meeting on September 8th, and at the request of the applicant, we will now refer this back to committee to be considered a later date, still to be determined. Do you have my colleagues' questions or comments? Seeing none, I move to refer this ordinance to committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2288-2025 to rezone 2410 Demarest Drive, being 14 point, referred. Thank you. So again, ordinance 2288-2025 to rezone 2410 Demarest Drive, being 14.07 acres located on the east side of Demarest Road, 800 plus feet north of Black Pine Drive from R Rural District to LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. This ordinance also needs to be postponed to a later date at the request of the applicant. We do not have a certain date to bring it back. So any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move to refer this ordinance to committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Thank you. Refer back to committee. Next, we have ordinance 2516-2025 to rezone 1854 Stelter Road, being 14.008 plus acres located on the east side of Stelter Road at the terminus of City Gate Drive from R Rural District to LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. This site consists of 5 undeveloped parcels. The requested rezoning will allow a multi-unit residential development with a maximum of 264 dwelling units, developed in accordance with the submitted site plan. Proposal is approved from City Staff, Development Commission, and the Northeast Area Commission. Any questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Passed. Next, we move into the council variances portion of our agenda. First, we have ordinance 1980-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3312.21A, landscaping and screening, and 3312.27 parking setback line of Columbus City Codes for property located at 4970 Lindora Drive to allow a reduced parking lot, landscaping, and parking setback for an apartment building in the LAR1 Apartment Residential District. This is a companion variance to rezoning. We refer back to committee at the request of the applicant earlier on our agenda, and I will also be moving to refer this ordinance back to committee. Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, De Akauer, Green, Remy, Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorns.
Refer back to committee. Next, we have ordinance 2289-2025 to grant variance provisions of section 3333.35G private garage of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 2410 Demarest Road to allow increased garage height for an apartment complex in the LAR1 limited apartment residential district. This is another companion variance or rezone we referred back earlier in our agenda at the request of the applicant. Again, I move to refer this ordinance back to committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Referred back to committee. Next, we have ordinance 2311-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.02 AR12, ARLD, and AR1 part residential district uses, 3312.49C required parking, and 33333.09 area requirements, 3333.16 fronting, and 3333.24 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 39 Linwood Avenue to allow two single-unit dwellings on one lot, reduced development standards in the ARLD apartment residential district. This site consists of one parcel developed with a single-unit dwelling, and the requested council variance will allow a two-unit dwelling on one lot at this location with proposed construction of a rear dwelling unit above attached garage, better known as a carriage house. A variance is necessary because the current zoning district allows a dwelling unit containing 1 to 4 units. It does not allow two single-unit dwellings on one lot unless all certain standards can be met. Variance to lot width, fronting, rear yard, and required parking are also included in this request. Proposal is approved from City staff and the Near East Area Commission. Any questions or comments from colleagues? Councilmember Beatty? 39 Linwood Avenue. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I move to accept this staff report into evidence as an exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted, and finally move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 2488-2025 to grant a variance provisions section 3332.02 R Rural District, 3332.06 R Rural Area, District requirements 3332.21B Building lines, and 3332.27 rear yard, and 3332.28 side yard or rear yard of construction of Columbus City Codes for property located at 1855 Tanis Drive to allow reduced development within the to allow residential development with reduced development standards in the R Rural District. Site consists of one parcel developed with two single-unit dwellings. A lot split has been proposed that will result in 3 new lots. Requested council variance will allow a two-unit dwelling on lots 1 and 2 and will conform the development standards for the retained single-unit dwelling on Lot 3. A council variance is required because the current zoning district only allows single-unit dwellings as a primary residential land use. Variance to the lot area, building lines, rear yard, and side obstruction are also included in the request. Proposal is approved from city staff and the Southwest Area Commission. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted, and finally move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 2489-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.02 R Rural District, 3312.27 parking setback line, 3321.05 B2 vision clearance, 3332.06 R Rural Area District requirements, 3332.21 B building lines, 3332.25 minimum side yards required, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1815-1817 Tanis Drive to allow a two-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R Rural District. This site consists of one undeveloped parcel, and the requested council variance will allow the site to be developed with a two-unit dwelling. Council variance is required because the current district only allows a single-unit dwelling as a primary residence and land use. Variance to parking setback, vision clearance, lot area, building lines, maximum side yard, minimum side yard, and rear yard are also included in this request. Proposal is approved from city staff and the Southwest Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy Weiss, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted and finally move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 2490-2025 to grant variance provisions of section 3332.02 R Rural District, 3332.06 R Rural Area District requirements, 3332.25 maximum side yard required, and 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1850 and 1870 Tance Drive to allow residential development with reduced development standards to R Rural District. Site consists of two parcels, each developed with a single unit dwelling. A lot split has been proposed that will result in 3 new lots. Requested council variance will allow a 2-unit dwelling on Lot 1 and Lot 2 and conform to the development standards for the retained single-unit dwelling on Lot 3. Council variance required because the current district only allows single-unit dwellings as a primary residential land use. Variance to lot area, maximum side yard, and rear yard are also included in the request. Proposal has approval from city staff and the Southwest Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted and finally move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 2503-2025 to grant a variance provision in section 3332.037 R2F Residential District, 3325.801 maximum lot coverage, 3332.05 A4 area district lot width requirements, 3332.114 R2F area district requirements, 3332.19 fronting, and 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 126 West Northwood Avenue to allow 2 units dwelling on 1 lot, reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. Site consists of 1 parcel developed with a single unit dwelling and subject to the Uvalde District zoning overlay. The requested council variance will allow a single dwelling above a detached garage in the rear of the property, also known as carriage house. The variance is necessary because although the current district allows 2 unit dwellings, it does not allow 2 separate unit dwellings on 1 lot. Variances to lot coverage, lot width, lot area, fronting, and rear yard are also included in this request. Proposal has approved from city staff and the University Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted and finally move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 2517-2025 to grant a variance provisions section 3312.27 parking setback line, 3333.18 building lines, and 3333.35G private garage of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1854 Stelter Road to allow for reduced development standards for the apartment complex in the LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. This is the companion variance of rezoning we considered earlier on our agenda for an apartment complex that will contain 264 dwelling units. The requested council variance will allow reduced parking and building setback lines and increased height of detached garages for a proposed apartment complex. Proposal has approvals from city staff and the Northeast Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted and finally move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 2535-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.03 permitted uses in AR3 apartment residential district, 3312.49C required parking, and 3333.24 rear yard, and 33353.05 D4 C2 district development limitations of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 3639 Gender Road to allow a monopole telecommunications antenna with reduced setbacks and reduced development standards for an assisted living facility in the AR3 apartment residential district. This is a companion variance rezoning we considered earlier tonight on our agenda for an affordable assisted living facility with 120 suites. The requested variance will reduce the required parking from 90 spaces to 73, and the required rear yard from 25 feet to 23.4. Additionally, this request will allow the existing monopole telecommunications antenna to remain on the site with a reduced setback from 270 to 0 feet. Proposals approved from city staff and the Greater Southeast Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Accepted. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff, the findings of council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Adopted. Next, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Amended. I next move to amend to emergency. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Amended. And finally, I move for passage as amended. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
Passed. See no further business, although I do want to say a welcome to our youngest member of council tonight, Xavier Bangston. Xavier, you're going to wave to everybody? Say hi. See no further business. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Beatty, Day, Akauer, Green, Remy White, President Pro Tem Dorans.
We stand adjourned.